Ah, my children, come closer, pull up a chair here on the veranda of the soul. Leave the noise of the world outside for a moment. Can you hear it? It's the sound of the sea. For some, it's a sound of peace. For others, it's the sound of longing. The sea. It holds so many secrets, doesn't it? It holds stories that time tries to erase, but that faith insists on remembering. And today, I want to tell you a tale that seems to have come from an old book. A tale about a love that defied the calendar, about a promise that the ocean swallowed, but that God did not forget. Imagine this with me. Close your eyes, if you can. Smell the sea air, that salty smell that clings to your skin. We're in a small coastal town, one of those where everyone knows each other, where time seems to move slower. And there, sitting on a wooden bench worn by time, facing the breakwater, is a man. His name is Antônio, but in the town everyone knows him simply as the man who waits. Antônio is already 75 years old. His hair is as white as the foam of the waves. His face is furrowed with wrinkles that tell stories. And his eyes, his eyes. Antônio's eyes never leave the horizon. They are searching for something, or rather, someone. 50 years ago, in that same place, Antônio wasn't an old man. He was a strong young man of 25. The sun shone differently, and beside him was Helena. Helena. Her smile, Antônio said, could calm the tide. They were young, in love, and had their whole lives ahead of them. That day, Antônio, with trembling hands and a heart beating faster than the crashing waves, pulled a small blue velvet box from his pocket. Inside, a ring. Simple, made of gold, but carrying the weight of a forever. He knelt right there on the wooden floor of the pier. Helena brought her hands to her mouth, her eyes shining brighter than the sun reflected on the water. He said the words he had been rehearsing for weeks, and she, of course, said yes. They embraced. The world stopped. But in the euphoria of that moment, in the overflowing joy, fate played its trick. Helena wanted to see the ring up close. Antônio, in his happy haste as he passed the ring to her hand, it slipped. Like a goldfish, the ring curved through the air and, with an almost silent plop, disappeared into the dark water beneath the pier. The silence that followed was more deafening than any storm. Helena turned pale. Antônio, paralyzed. He still dove in, clothes and all. He dove in again and again. He dove until the sun set, until his lungs burned, until the cold took over his bones. But the sea did not return him. That night was the longest of their lives. Helena, superstitious, wept. It's a sign, Antônio, a sign that it's not meant to be. He tried to argue, saying it was just an object, that their love was greater. But something had broken. The sea had taken more than a ring. It had taken their certainty. A week later, Helena's family, who never approved of her relationship with a simple fisherman, took her away to the capital. A cold letter was all that remained, and Antônio stayed. He stayed with the yes stuck in his throat and with the image of that silent plop repeating in his mind every day. Antônio's pain was a dull pain, a pain that didn't scream, but that weighed heavily. It weighed like an anchor in his chest. His friend said, "Antônio, move on. You're young. The sea is full of fish." But how could he move on when his heart remained there at the bottom of the ocean, along with that wedding ring? He made a silent promise, a promise between him and God. He would wait. He didn't know for what. For the covenant, for Helena, or just for an answer. 50 years had passed, half a century, and Antônio was still there, on the same bench. The city had changed. The pier had been renovated, but Antônio's heart remained suspended on that day of sun and shadow. And the question, my son, my daughter, that echoed in the sea breeze was, how can an entire life be trapped in a single second? How can destiny be so quick to take away and so painfully slow to answer? And so, my friends, Antonio's wait began. The first year was the hardest. He looked at every boat that arrived at the port. He searched for Helena's eyes in every new face in the city, but she didn't come. The second year, hope began to mingle with routine. He returned to the sea, to his work as a fisherman, but his gaze always lingered on that specific point of the pier. 5 years passed, 10 years. Antonio's friends got married. They had children. Their children grew up, and Antonio remained engaged to a memory. People began to whisper, "Poor Antonio, he lost his mind along with the ring." But it wasn't madness, my children. It was a stubborn faith, a faith that refused to accept the ocean's no. The winter storms came, the kind that make the sea roar. The old pier was almost destroyed. Antonio helped rebuild it, and there it stood, in the same place, like a solitary lighthouse. Then came the hot summers, the tourists, the loud music. The quiet little town began to modernize. But Antonio remained analog, in a digital world. He talked to God. Oh, how he talked. These weren't noisy prayers kneeling on the church floor. They were conversations between friends, there on the bench facing the sea. "Father," he would say while the salty breeze ruffled his now gray hair, "you know where she is. You know where she is. Why? Why the silence?" Sometimes doubt would creep in. Did God care about a little gold ring, about a fisherman's broken heart? Was Helena still alive? Did she remember him? 50 years. That's a long time. It's a whole lifetime. The pain, with time, did not diminish. It merely changed form. It ceased to be a sharp stab and became a constant presence, a shadow that accompanied him. He learned to live with the emptiness, as a sailor learns to live with the immensity of the sea. He became a gentle man of few words, but with a depth in his gaze that only long waiting can give. He saw young couples on the pier. He saw young men kneeling, and he smiled, a sad but genuine smile. He rooted for them. He prayed to God that the wind wouldn't blow too strongly at the moment of "I do." He became the guardian of other people's promises, since his own seemed to have drowned. The day of his 75th birthday arrived, exactly 50 years from that day. He woke before sunrise. He went to his bench. The sea was calm, like a mirror. There was no one there, only him and God, and the silence of half a century. He looked at his own hands, wrinkled, stained by the sun and time, hands that should have held hers, hands that should have cradled children, grandchildren. And a tear, the first in many years, rolled down his cheek. "It's over, isn't it, my God? The wait was in vain. You have forgotten me." Antonio felt the weight of 50 years collapse upon his shoulders. The faith that had been his companion seemed to have vanished with the morning mist. The desert had been too long, and now he was alone. What he didn't know, my children, is that in God's time the desert always ends. And sometimes it ends on the day when we think we can't take another step. While Antonio was savoring the bitter taste of what seemed to be the end, hundreds of kilometers away, something was in motion. God's plans, my children, are like tapestries. We only see the reverse side, a tangled mess of meaningless threads. But he sees the finished work. That same day, a young man named Rafael arrived in the small town. Rafael was a marine biologist, but his hobby was diving. He wasn't your average tourist. He liked to search for things that time had hidden, and he had heard about the ruins of the old pier, which lay submerged a few meters from the new pier where Antonio was sitting. Rafael put on his gear. The morning was beautiful for a dive. He entered the water, and the silence of the underwater world embraced him. He swam among the old pillars, covered in barnacles, anemones, and small, colorful fish. It was a beautiful cemetery, a place where nature had transformed ruin into home. He wasn't looking for anything in particular, he was just observing. But then something caught his attention. It wasn't an obvious gleam, it was almost nothing. Hidden between a cluster of corals and the rotting wood of a pillar, there was a dim glow, a circle that didn't belong there. Curious, he used his diving knife to dislodge the object. It was stuck as if the sea didn't want to let go. Carefully, he pulled it out, and there it was, a ring. It was almost unrecognizable. Covered in limestone, darkened by time and salt water, it looked like just a piece of old trash. Rafael almost threw it away, but something stopped him. A strange feeling. He put the ring in his suit pocket. When he returned to the surface, the sun was already higher. He sat on the sand, took the ring out of his pocket. It was small, simple. He began to scrape the crust with his fingernail, and then he saw it. Almost erased, but still legible. An inscription. A +H. Rafael frowned. The most H. A couple, for sure. He smiled, thinking about the story that ring could tell. A lost summer love? A fight? He kept the ring, now with a little more affection. It was a curious find, a little story from the sea. He had no idea, folks. He didn't have the slightest notion that at that moment he was the tool. He was God's answer to a 50-year prayer. He was holding in his hands not just a ring, but the miracle that Antônio had just given up waiting for. That ring, my children, was the first sign, the first piece of the puzzle that God had been silently assembling at the bottom of the ocean for half a century. The sea had finally decided to return what it had taken, and it used the hands of a stranger who by chance decided to dive that day in that exact place. Chance. Ah, my children, chance is just the way God uses to sign his works without needing spotlights. And the next step in this plan was about to happen. Rafael dried the ring and put it in his shorts pocket. He went to have coffee at the small bakery in the square, the only one that had existed since ancient times. Behind the counter was Donna Isabel, a lady with white hair and an easy smile, who knew every story of that town. She was the same age as Antônio. While drinking his coffee, Rafael, excited about his find, struck up a conversation. "You won't believe what I found today diving near the old pier." And he showed her the ring. Donna Isabel looked. She took a small cloth and cleaned herself better. Her eyes widened. She put her hand to her chest. "My God. Boy, where did you say you found this?" "There, by the old pillars. I was trapped. There's even an inscription. A +H." Donna Isabel dropped the cloth. She looked out the bakery window towards the sea. Her eyes filled with tears. "The most H," she whispered. "Antônio and Helena." Rafael was confused. "Do you know them? Who are they?" And then Donna Isabel, with a choked voice, told the story. She told of her youthful love, of the lost ring, of the broken promise, of Helena's departure. And she told of Antônio. "He's there, boy, right now, on the same bench as always. He's been there for 50 years. Today marks exactly 50 years. Rafael felt a shiver that wasn't from the sea. The coffee cooled in the cup. What had been a curiosity now carried weight, the weight of a life. 50 years. Today? He asked, incredulous. Yes, today. The man who waits. Poor guy. I think he finally gave up today. I passed by him this morning, and the light in his eyes had gone out. Rafael looked at the ring in his hand. Now it was no longer just an object. It was a responsibility. It was a miracle waiting to happen. I need to talk to him. I need to return this. Donna Isabel wiped her eyes. Go, my son, go quickly. Perhaps God has heard his prayers after all, and used you. Rafael hadn't even finished his coffee. He left the bakery, his heart pounding. The ring felt like it was burning on his hand. He walked towards the pier. He didn't know what he was going to say. How does one return the past to someone? How does one give away a symbol of such ancient pain? He saw Antônio from afar. The figure was bent over, gazing at the sea, exactly as Donna Isabel had described. The morning sun was now high, but around Antônio there seemed to be a shadow. Rafael took a deep breath. He felt the weight of that moment. The sea had kept the secret. God had kept the time. And now he, a marine biologist passing through, was the messenger. He approached slowly, unaware that he was not only carrying a ring, but the second part of the revelation. The unexpected connection had been made. The diver and the bakery owner had been the instruments. Now the encounter was missing. The circle that the ocean had opened 50 years ago needed to be closed, and he was about to do it. Rafael stopped a few meters from Antônio. The old man didn't even move. His eyes were fixed on the horizon, lost in memories that only he knew. "Excuse me," said Rafael, his voice low. "Sir, Mr. Antônio." Antônio turned slowly. His eyes were red from tears he thought he had dried. He looked at the boy, uncomprehending. "My name is Rafael. I'm a diver." And I was. I was diving this morning, near the old pier pillars. Antônio's heart skipped a beat. The old pier, the place of pain. Rafael continued nervously, "And I found this." He held out his hand. In the boy's palm rested the small gold ring, now clean, but still marked by the sea. Small, crooked, imperfect. Antônio's world stopped. The sound of the waves faded. The wind stopped blowing. He looked at the ring. He couldn't breathe. This wasn't possible. It was a mirage. It was his mind, tired of waiting, playing one last trick on him. "It can't be," he whispered. "It has an inscription," Rafael said kindly. "The most H." Antônio brought his trembling hand to Rafael's. With his fingertips, he touched the metal. It was cold. It was real. He picked up the ring. The same ring. The ring that had slipped from his fingers. The ring he had seen disappear into the dark water. He closed his hand around it. And for the first time in 50 years, Antônio didn't cry from sadness. He cried from... There was no name for it. It was a deluge. It was the breaking of the dam of half a century of pain, of hope, of waiting, and of doubt. He slumped in his seat, his body trembling, sobbing like a child. "My God, my God, my God." Rafael placed his hand on the old man's shoulder, unsure what to do. He had returned the ring. The story was complete. But my children, God was not finished yet. While Antônio wept, an elegant lady with white hair tied in a bun walked along the boardwalk. She wasn't from the city. She had arrived by bus that morning from the capital. She had had a dream the night before, a dream about the sea, with the smell of sea air and a feeling of something unfinished. It was Helena. She had married, had children, grandchildren. Her husband had passed away a few years ago, and that morning she woke up with an uncontrollable urge to return to the place where her life had taken a different turn. She needed to make peace with the pier. She needed to ask forgiveness from young Antônio, even if only in spirit. She walked to the entrance of the pier, and she saw the scene. A young man comforting an elderly gentleman who was crying profusely. She felt a pang of compassion. But as she approached, she saw what the old man was holding in his hand. Time stopped for her too. She knew that ring. She had dreamed about it 1,000 times. Her heart skipped a beat. She looked at the old man's face, a face marked by time, but his eyes. When he raised his teary eyes, she saw. They were the same eyes. "Antônio," she said, her voice faltering, a mere whisper. Antonio lifted his head. The crying stopped instantly. He looked at the woman. He saw her through the tears. Her face wasn't that of a 20-year-old girl. It was that of a 75-year-old woman. But her smile, however shy, and her eyes... her eyes. They were Helena's eyes. "Helena," he managed to say. They stood there, still, a meter apart, 50 years floating between them. The diver, Rafael, looked from one to the other, realizing that he was not the end of the story. He was merely the messenger. Helena looked at his hand. Is that the ring?" Antonio opened his hand. He found him. Today, now. Helena brought her hands to her mouth, just as she had done 50 years before. But now, the tears were of astonishment. I arrived today, Antonio. I haven't been here for 50 years. I felt I needed to come today. At that moment, my children, the miracle was complete. God didn't just send the ring. The ring was the sign. The ring was the magnet. The ring lost at sea was the instrument God used to bring Helena back on the exact day, at the exact hour, in the exact place. Antonio stood up, slowly. He looked at Helena, and, after 50 years, he took her hand, and with a trembling hand, he slid the ring corroded by the sea, but perfect to God, onto her finger. And this time, it didn't fall. My goodness. What a thing, isn't it? Take a breath. Let this story settle in your heart. How many times do we look at our lives and see only what the sea has taken? We see the lost ring, the dream that sank, the promise that was not fulfilled, and we sit on our bench, on our private pier, and we wait. We wait a year, 10 years. And sometimes, like Antônio, we wait 50, and we get tired. We think God has forgotten us. We look at the horizon, and all we see is emptiness. We cry and say, "Father, it's over, you've forgotten me." But the story of Antônio and Helena teaches us a lesson as profound as the ocean itself. God never forgets. He doesn't work with our clock. Our now is different from his now. For us, 50 years is a lifetime. For God, it's the exact time to prepare a miracle. While Antônio waited, God was working. He was watching over the ring, deep in the sea, protecting it amidst the coral. He was watching over Helena's life in another city. And he was watching over Antônio, forging in him a faith that, even when he thought it had died, was still there. And on the right day, at the right time, he moved the pieces. He placed in the heart of a diver the desire to dive there. He placed a bakery owner to tell the story, and he placed in Helena's heart the longing to return today. What has the sea of life taken from you, my son, my daughter? What is your lost ring? Is it a broken relationship? Is it a youthful dream that seems to have drowned? Is it a prayer you've been saying for so long that you've lost count and feel that God isn't listening? Don't give up. Don't think he has forgotten. Deep down, where you can't see, he may be watching over his promise. He may be preparing the Rafael who will bring the answer. He may be preparing the encounter that will restore what was lost. God's timing never fails. God's timing is never late. God's timing is perfect. I want to extend an invitation to you. Here in our little corner, we are a community. I want to read your story. What is the covenant you are waiting for the sea to return? Write it here in the comments. Let's pray for each other. Let's share our hope so that when the miracle arrives, we can celebrate together. If this story touched your heart, if it brought a little warmth to your soul, leave a like. That's how I know we're connected. And if you're not already part of our family, subscribe to the channel here. Pull up a chair. We have many stories of faith to share. May God bless your wait. May he give you strength to remain on your pier, because the miracle may be coming. Sometimes it only takes 50 years. God be with you.